We're going to continue from a report on the Lake Whatcom and Natural Resources Committee. I'm Pinky Vargas, the chair. The Lake Whatcom Policy Group, consisting of the representatives from Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District and the Whatcom County Council and Sudden Valley Community Association and the Bellingham City Council. They meet regularly to discuss the policy issues regarding Lake Whatcom. The Lake Whatcom Natural Resources Committee will receive a briefing and the discussion on and recommendations from the April 14th policy group meeting. I was not in attendance, so I've asked Mark Gardner to present for us. Thank you, Mark.
Good afternoon. Mark Gardner, Legislative Policy Analyst for the City Council. I'm just here to give you a brief overview of the April 14th Lake Whatcom Policy Group meeting. As you know, at the March 26th Joint Councils and Commission meeting, there were two resolutions passed, one of which set milestones for the policy group and working with staff and the executives to achieve milestones for phosphorus reduction, and the one for 2014 is a milestone to identify policy principles for each area of investment for phosphorus removal and identify expenditures needed to achieve the load reduction goals in each area. So the policy group is rolling up its sleeves and starting on the process of achieving this milestone. And in that regard, staff presented the first comprehensive look at an overall phosphorus reduction framework that would inform both the discussion over the coming year, but also the TMDL and the next 5-year plan. Just to briefly go over what was presented, staff reviewed the TMDL phosphorus removal requirements, noting that the TMDL requires 3,140 pounds to be removed from stormwater entering the lake. That's an annual number, so it has to be repeatable. 313 pounds have been removed to date, and an additional 115 pounds are to be removed by 2018 under current planned projects, leaving 2,712 pounds to go. Staff noted that some of the broad categories of investment for phosphorus reduction are traditional facilities such as sand filters and bioswales, media filtration, road right-of-way retrofits, regional infiltration facilities, and regional residential infiltration and remediation. Staff presented a 50 versus a 25-year scenario for meeting these targets. Under the 50-year scenario, which would meet the TMDL requirement by 2062, just under $2 million a year would need to be expended in the program on phosphorus reduction activities. I don't believe this number includes all of the preservation activities, such as some of the acquisition program purchases, but it's all the ongoing reduction expenditures, and that would be equivalent to an additional 62 pounds of phosphorus being removed every year. And the cost would go up to approximately $4.7 million a year under a 25-year scenario, which would hit the TMDL target by 2037, and that would be equivalent to 143 pounds per year removed. Just a few caveats. The TMDL target may change with improved modeling. Staff are working with consultants to get additional data that will improve the modeling. They're also working with ecology, and that could lead to some adjustment in the overall targets. Second, policy choices will affect costs of the phosphorus reduction activities, so that will be discussed. Some of those choices will be discussed in the coming year. And lastly, more data on effectiveness of techniques may result in change of technique mix. Just to wrap up, I've also put in your packet a annual strategic plan document, more or less, for the policy group, which identifies all the topics. And as you'll note, the next topic is to really dig into these capital investment issues, which is going to be a major part of the cost drivers for the program in general, and to clarify both budgetary and policy questions regarding that. And then after that, on the next meeting is on May 12th, the subsequent meetings on June 2nd. We're moving up the Sudden Valley discussion, since Sudden Valley is an important part of the watershed, and there's some capital investment needs there as well. So that's where the group stands, and that's my report for that meeting, unless there are any questions.
Roxanne?
I was in attendance at that meeting, and I just wanted to express how I felt it was rather exciting to get to the point to where we got to, because there were basically 5 approaches that were being looked at, and we got to look at the percentage of effectiveness of each. So in that way, it kind of gave us sort of a buffet-style option. If we took this much from this plate and this much from that side, what could we do to get the total phosphorus reduction? So I think this will get down to how we all want to fund it, who's going to fund it, how that's going to happen, but it feels like we're making major traction in terms of defining the problem, but also how we're going to address it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Just
Anything
a quick
to add?
one.
Yeah.
Is Sudden Valley coming to the table?
They sent their first representative, Larry Brown. He's been actually participating, but he's now sitting at the policy group meeting, and so that's great to have that direct input into the meeting.
Good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just wanted to add one more item is our aquatic invasive species. We have started our boat inspections 2 weeks ago, and those are going really smoothly, so just want to remind everybody that that program is out there. And that's the end of committee today, and I'll turn it over to Jean.